Hello everybody, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to show you how to farm Acolytes with a very cheap setup. The reason for this is because I think a lot of Warframe videos are focused around min-maxing things, and when you're just getting into Steel Path, chances are you don't have all the things to min-max everything and blow through it. So I wanted to come up with a setup that's as cheap as it gets, but can still farm Acolytes with relative ease. So let's check it out. For the frame we have Inaros, which you get from the Sons of Inaros questline that you can get from Barakatir, so he's not difficult or expensive to get, and we're using him because he's just very tanky, he doesn't need anything, he's just a chunky boy. So first of all, we of course want to put on an aura for the extra capacity, and this can either be Steel Charge for the melee damage or Corrosive Projection for the armor strip. And then you just put on all the health and armor you have available. That's it. Also, if you have either Rage or Hunter Adrenaline, put that on too. This will keep your energy very high if not maxed out at all times. The other mod slots are empty because you can literally put whatever you want in there. Doesn't really matter, and the same goes for the Arcanes. If you have some Arcanes, use them. For the weapon, we're using the Zores. This also comes from a quest, so it's very easy to get. And for the build, we're just gonna use a pretty straightforward heavy attack build. So you put on whatever stance you have, it doesn't really matter which one. Then Pressure Point for melee damage, Killing Blow for heavy attack wind-up speed and damage, True Steel for crit chance, Organ Shatter for crit damage, and then Volatile Quick Return if you have it. If you don't have it, you can use a regular Quick Return to keep the AoE on the heavy attack, but the Volatile version is much better because it will allow you to double tap, which I will explain in a little bit. And we're gonna top it off with Choking Touch for electricity, as well as Vicious Frost and Virulent Scourge for vital and status. Now, double tapping is something you want to learn in general because it adds a lot of damage to glaives, and it essentially just allows you to get 2 hits from one throw. The idea here is you want to let the glaive hit the enemy first to trigger the volatile explosion before detonating it with the heavy attack. This does take a bit of getting used to, but once you get used to the flight speed of the glaive and the timing of it, it's actually fairly easy to pull off. I would highly recommend you try to learn this because it doesn't just add damage, it also adds a lot more status, because since you hit the enemy twice, you have twice the opportunity to proc status on them. By far my favorite mission for low effort Acolyte farming is the Infested Survival Apollodorus on Mercury. You unlock this mission fairly early on and it's relatively low level, plus it's infested, so it's like perfect because infested are squishier than the other factions, as they don't have any armor or shield gating, plus you also don't have to deal with nullifiers, which is a nice bonus. As far as the gameplay goes, it's actually very straightforward. The most important thing here actually is that you don't use the Scarab Swarm augment because it can screw you over pretty easily. What you want to do is get into the mission and stack your Scarab Swarm up to 100%. This will give you a bunch of extra armor, but it also gives you the ability to infect enemies with the Scarab Swarm, which will heal you a lot. This is the reason why we don't want to run the augment, because the augment drains your Scarab Swarm to protect you from status. This is how you're gonna stay healthy in general, but it's also how you're gonna tank through Acolytes, because whenever an Acolyte shows up, what you want to do is just infect a bunch of nearby enemies with the Scarab Swarm, which makes it so that the Acolyte needs to one-shot you to take you down, because otherwise you're just gonna heal back up. Now, one of the Acolytes you need to watch out for is Malice, or as I like to call him, Malice. Because Malice will put a bullet attractor on you every now and then, and you need to roll to drop it. If you've ever been one-shot by an Acolyte, there's a good chance you actually did it yourself, and it was because of this bullet attractor. So if you're fighting Malice, make sure you drop the bullet attractor, and then just keep your distance from the Acolyte and slowly pick it off with the heavy attacks. It's not gonna take that many because the Zores actually does good damage. And that's pretty much all there is to it. If you're diligent about keeping your Scarab Swarm at 100%, you can infect the enemies 4 times before it runs out, which should give you more than enough time to deal with any Acolyte before you run out of healing. It's honestly more about confidence than anything else, because this setup is good enough to sit in the mission for 30 minutes if you can manage life support, so, you know, as long as you don't panic and you keep your cool, you should be absolutely fine. Also, if things happen to go south and the Acolyte manages to take you down, it's not a big deal. I still die to Acolytes every now and then, and I have literally all the gear in the game. No one cares, it's not a big deal. And that is pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching as always, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
The raid is off to a successful start.